A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, SP feud continues to be our top focus. Now Mulayam Singh and Akhilesh have taken their fight to the Election Commission over the party symbol. Well, that is our top focus. That and much more in this bulletin, starting with the headlines. War over Samajwadi Party symbol reaches Election Commission. Mulayam Singh Yadav stakes claim. Akhilesh faction to meet the poll body today. Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs to decide on advancing the budget session of Parliament to the last week of January. Home Minister to chair the meeting. Paying service charge at restaurants optional, says government. Customers can decide depending on the quality of service. Islamic State claims responsibility for New Year's Eve nightclub attack in Istanbul. Hunt intensifies for the attacker who gunned down 39 people. 12 people arrested so far in raids. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu questioned by police as part of a graft probe. Netanyahu denies any wrongdoing after being accused of illegally accepting gifts from wealthy supporters. But our top focus is the war in the Samajwadi Party. Well, the focus has now shifted to the Election Commission, with the faction headed by Mulayam Singh Yadav approaching the poll body for the right to the party symbol, the cycle. Today, the faction led by Akhilesh Yadav is expected to meet the Election Commission to stake claim for the symbol ahead of the UP elections.
The Samajwadi Party war shifting from Lucknow to Delhi. Mulayam Singh Yadav approaching the Election Commission staking claim to the cycle symbol. He was accompanied to the poll body office by brother Shivpal Yadav, close confidant Amar Singh and former MP Jaya Prada.
साइकिल चुनाव चिन्ह को लेकर घमासान मचा है, जो जिस तरह से आपने इसको असंवैधानिक किया है, क्या कहना है?
चुनाव चिन्ह है समाजवादी पार्टी पर, चुनाव चिन्ह है हमारे तस्कर पर.
The Akhilesh Yadav faction will be meeting the poll body today to stake claim to the symbol. Ram Gopal Yadav will represent the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, who has been made the party president at a convention on Sunday.
तो उनसे पूछो जाके जो कर रहे हैं, हम क्या करें?
कह रहे हैं आपने जो फैसला किया असंवैधानिक है, असंवैधानिक था।
हाँ, तो वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज हैं, तो उन्हीं से पूछो।
नेताजी इस समय राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष हैं और आगे भी रहेंगे, और हम नेताजी के साथ मरते दम तक साथ हैं.
Mulayam said the convention of the rival camp, which passed a resolution to anoint Akhilesh as the new party chief, passed no resolution removing him from the post. He also said, as per the SP's constitution, such a decision needs the backing of the parliamentary board, which was absent.
हम लोग का पास तो सब कुछ है, सब विधायक है, सांसद है, पार्टी का जो कार्यकर्ता सब है. एक साथ में हम लोग बैठ के तो कल अखिलेश जी को राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष बनाया चुनाव के लिए. नेताजी हम लोग का सबका नेता है, राष्ट्रीय नेता है.
In another twist to the saga, Mulayam Singh Yadav put off the convention called on 5th of January. In a series of tweets, Shivpal Yadav said the convention stands postponed for now, giving no reason. The Mulayam camp seems to be fearing a poor turnout compared to the massive gathering at the convention held by Ram Gopal Yadav on Sunday. At the convention, Akhilesh alleged that his uncle Shivpal Yadav and Amar Singh had hatched a conspiracy to ruin the party's prospects in the upcoming polls.
पार्टी के खिलाफ साजिश हो तो नेताजी का बेटा होने की वजह से मेरी जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि ऐसे लोगों के खिलाफ, साजिश करने वालों के खिलाफ हम खड़े हों. मैं चाहे अध्यक्ष हूं, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष हूं, कुछ भी हूं, लेकिन नेताजी मेरे पिताजी रहेंगे, और नेताजी पिताजी हैं तो मैं उनका बेटा रहूंगा. ये रिश्ता कोई नहीं खत्म कर सकता.
Mulayam expelled his cousin Ram Gopal for 6 years along with National Vice President Kiranmoy Nanda, who chaired the convention, and General Secretary Naresh Agarwal for taking part in it. With inputs from Panchanan Mishra. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday addressed a mega rally in Uttar Pradesh capital Lucknow. Well, this was his first rally in the state after the 50-day deadline of demonetization got over. Well, in his address, the Prime Minister took on the state government over development, governance and his internal feud. He also urged the people of the state to vote overwhelmingly for the BJP in the upcoming polls.
A huge turnout for the Prime Minister's Parivartan rally in Lucknow, bolstering the BJP's confidence ahead of the Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections. The Prime Minister called it the biggest rally of his career as the crowd cheered on.
सैकड़ों रैलियों में संबोधन करने के जाने का अवसर भी मिला, लेकिन मेरे पूरे जीवन काल में इतनी बड़ी रैली संबोधन करने का मुझे सौभाग्य नहीं मिला। जो पॉलिटिकल पंडित हैं, चुनाव के हिसाब किताब लगाते हैं, उत्तर प्रदेश का चुनाव किस दिशा में जाएगा, उसका हिसाब किताब जो लगा रहे हैं, ये रैली देखने के बाद अब किसी को मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ेगी कि चुनाव में होने वाला क्या है।
And he stuck to his agenda of late, fight against black money and development. He urged the people to rise above caste and vote for development of the state. He also took the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party to task, as he said he was working towards eradicating black money.
उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार कोई जिम्मेवारी लेने को तैयार नहीं, हाथ ऊपर कर देना और उधर जाकर के किसानों को भड़काना। भाइयों बहनों, दो दलों के बीच में राजनीति हम समझ सकते हैं, लेकिन राज्य की जनता के साथ राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। देश की जनता के साथ राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। दलों की राजनीति दलों तक सीमित होनी चाहिए। लेकिन भाइयों बहनों, विकास के आड़े भी जब राजनीति आती है, अपने पराये का भाव आता है, तो विकास रुक जाता है और जनता पिछड़ती चली जाती है।
Playing on the Samajwadi Party's internal feud, Modi also said that the centre was giving full support to the state government, who had so far failed to utilize that support positively.
आज मुझे दुख के साथ कहना है, मेरे किसान भाइयों बहनों, भारत सरकार से पूरी मदद मिलने के बावजूद भी ये उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार को किसानों के धान की खरीदी की फुर्सत नहीं है। आपने कभी सपा बसपा को एक साथ देखा है? इतने सालों के बाद एक मुद्दे पर दोनों इकट्ठे हो गए, दोनों मिलकर के कह रहे हैं कि मोदी को बदलो, मोदी को हटाओ। मोदी कह रहा है नोट बदलो, काला धन हटाओ। निर्णय आपको करना है, निर्णय आपको करना है भाइयों बहनों। वो कहते हैं मोदी हटाओ, मैं कहता हूं काला धन हटाओ। वो कहते हैं मोदी हटाओ, मैं कहता हूं भ्रष्टाचार हटाओ। देश की जनता को तय करना है कि हमें क्या करना है।
Senior union ministers and party president Amit Shah joined the Prime Minister on stage as he appealed to the people to vote the BJP to power in Uttar Pradesh with a full majority. He also called the UP election a matter of great responsibility.
Launching a scathing attack on the opposition parties for opposing demonetization, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tried to drive home a point that demonetization has actually curbed corruption and black money. He also took pot shots at the SP and the BSP for the family feud and corruption, respectively. But most importantly, Prime Minister asserted that the massive turnout in the rally has dismissed all speculations about UP polls. So can this turnout actually get converted into votes and help the BJP win the heart of India? Well, we shall know in few months. Reporting from Lucknow with camera person Shiv Kumar, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, with several states preparing for the assembly elections in 2017, the Supreme Court said that seeking votes on the basis of religion, race, caste, community or language amounts to a corrupt practice under the election laws. Calling elections a secular exercise, the 7-judge constitutional bench said that was hearing the case said that its way and process should be followed. It also said that it will not reconsider its 1995 judgment that defined Hindutva as a way of life and not a religion. In the 4:3 verdict, Chief Justice T.S. Thakur and 3 other judges said that the use of the term his religion in the Representation of the People's Act meant that any appeal for votes on these grounds would amount to corrupt practice. However, the minority view of 3 judges held that the term his religion means religion of the candidate alone. But the majority view also added that secularism has to be considered while dealing with such issues.
हम लोगों का दायित्व है कि हर हिसाब से चुनाव प्रक्रिया साफ सुथरी हो, उसमें चुनाव लड़ने वालों को ऐसा कोई मौका ना दिया जाए कि वो धर्म के नाम पे या जाति के नाम पे या भाषा के नाम पे वोटर्स को बरगलाएं।
क्योंकि अगर किसी ने इसको वायलेट किया तो इलेक्शन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बड़ा क्लियरली कह दिया कि ये एक करप्ट प्रैक्टिस मानी जाएगी और करप्ट प्रैक्टिस के बेसिस पे तो जो इलेक्शन होता है वो रद्द हो सकता है।
Constitution mandates that nobody should appeal to voters on these narrow considerations which are divisive, and people should seek vote on secular issues such as development, such as other issues affecting the country.
Why should religion, caste, region or every other parochial instinct be invoked in order to garner votes in a democracy?
वोट तो सबके पास एक है और सरकार बनती है देश को आगे ले जाने के लिए, तो जो पॉलिसी और नीति है वो तो सबके लिए बनना चाहिए.
This is really has to be curbed, and for that matter the Supreme Court judgment will have greater impact on the polity of the nation.
And the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs will meet today to decide on the advancing the budget session of Parliament to the last week of January. Now, the budget session is being advanced as the government wants early allocation of funds for various schemes from the beginning of this financial year. The meeting will be chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh and the members of the CCPA. Finance Minister, External Affairs Minister and Parliamentary Affairs Minister are also expected to attend this meeting. The first parliamentary session of the year is normally convened in the last week of February, but this year the government is looking to convene the longest session of Parliament beginning from the last week of January, where the presentation of the budget is expected to take place on 1st of February, which will be merged with the rail budget for the first time in 92 years. Meanwhile, unable to break the deadlock on the interstate GST law, the GST Council headed by Arun Jaitley will begin a 2-day meeting from today. This meeting will be attended by representatives of 6 crucial sectors including IT, telecom, banking and insurance to assess the implementation hurdles under the new GST regime. The biggest hurdle in the GST rollout is the issue of dual control, which deals with which taxpayers should be controlled by the centre and who should be governed by the states following a single tax system. The GST Council has had 7 meetings so far and has cleared as many as 20 chapters of the model GST law. It last met on 23rd of December last year. And customers eating out will now have an option to choose to pay service charges on their food bills, as the service charges on food bills are not compulsory. In a new directive, the Department of Consumer Affairs said that a customer can choose to not pay the service charge if he is dissatisfied with the service at a particular restaurant. The centre also directed the states to ensure that hotels and restaurants disseminate this information through displays in their premises. Now, this after the government received several complaints from consumers that hotels and restaurants seek service charge from 5 to 20% as tips, which a consumer is forced to pay irrespective of the kind of service that is provided. The government also clarified that service charge is not a government levy and should not be confused with a mandatory VAT or service tax. And now a look at the events that are lined up for the day in the day ahead. The Delhi High Court will hear the Augusta Westland chopper scam case today. On the 30th of December last year, the Apex Court had sought the response of former IAF chief S.P. Tyagi on CBI's plea, challenging his bail plea in the VVIP chopper scam case, contending that he could hamper its probe and alert other accused if he remained out of custody. Trinamool Congress MP Sudeep Bandyopadhyay will appear before the CBI today in connection with the investigation into the Rose Valley chit fund scam. The CBI had issued a summons to two Trinamool Congress MPs, Sudeep Bandyopadhyay and Tapas Pal, on the 27th of December in connection with this alleged scam. Well, Tapas Pal was earlier arrested by the CBI. The Maharashtra government will organize the Digi Dhan Mela in Mumbai today under the central government's Lucky Grahak Yojana for consumers and Digi Dhan Vyapar Yojana for traders. The event aims to promote digital payment methods. The Mela will have 50 stalls manned by banks, e-wallet, telecom and transport companies. Now, these stalls are aimed at serving as a training block and information kiosks for the cashless endeavour. And in breakfast news, time for a very short break. We'll be back in a few seconds. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 5-day annual 104th Indian Science Congress at the Sri Venkateshwara University in Tirupati today. Well, science and technology for national development will be the focal theme of the Congress this year. Well, the Prime Minister would address the gathering of eminent scientists, including 6 Nobel laureates from different countries and about 14,000 scientists and scholars from across the country. The Nobel laureates would be felicitated with the gold medals by the Prime Minister. Well, after his inaugural address, Prime Minister will also hold a brief conference with about 50 people, including Nobel laureates, eminent Indian scientists, other dignitaries and top officials. Well, it is the second time that Tirupati is hosting the Indian Science Congress, and the first being in 1983 when the 70th Science Congress was held. Well, India and Sri Lanka have expressed confidence on finding a long-lasting solution to the issue of fishermen between the two countries. Well, the ministerial meeting held in Colombo on Monday reached an understanding to ensure that there was no physical harm or loss of life while arresting fishermen for poaching into each other's waters. Well, the talks are co-chaired by Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh and Sri Lankan Fisheries Minister Mahinda Amaravira was attended by senior officials from both the nations. Well, the Sri Lankan side agreed to immediately release the fishing vessels in each other's custody. Both the sides also decided to operationalize a hotline between the two coast guards and to set up a standard operating procedure. Well, the next meeting of the joint working group has now been scheduled for 6th of April. A big story coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. Well, there has been an encounter in Baramulla district of the state. Now, one terrorist has been killed in that encounter. Well, the killing resulted after an encounter broke out between the security forces and terrorists in the early hours today in the Haritar Tarzo area in Baramulla district in Jammu and Kashmir. Well, according to reports, one terrorist is still believed to be hiding. Meanwhile, heavy fog in North India continues to disrupt normal life. At least 55 trains were delayed and 22 rescheduled to and from Delhi due to foggy weather conditions. Now, 6 trains were also cancelled. With cold conditions persisting and visibility dropping below 200 meters, 7 international and 6 domestic flights to and from the IGI have also been delayed and 2 domestic flights were cancelled. Well, according to the Met Department, the approaching western disturbances will gave a moderate to heavy snowfall over parts of Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand this week. Light to moderate rains are also likely at many places over Punjab and Haryana, North Rajasthan and northwest Uttar Pradesh as well. And what else is making news across the country? Let's take a look in nationwide. The centre has given assurance to Telangana for the construction of a regional sports centre in the state. Now, Sports Minister Vijay Goyal also agreed to provide necessary help to Telangana for setting up of the sports centre, for which the land is allotted by the state. Newly appointed Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Anil Baijal, assumed office on Monday and assured to extend full support to the ruling AAP government in the national capital. Now, during his first meeting, Baijal said that his priority would be to address the key challenges such as women's safety, pollution, traffic congestion and infrastructure. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu dropped 3 ministers and 5 parliamentary secretaries from his cabinet. Well, the list of dropped people includes members of the People's Party of Arunachal, which had opposed the leadership of Khandu. Now, Khandu, along with the 32 PPA MLAs, joined the BJP member on 31st of December. Well, a very short break in here. We'll be back with international and sports news. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervour dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Now, 12 people have been arrested in raids across Istanbul as the hunt has intensified for the attacker who killed 39 people in a nightclub on New Year's Eve. Now, Islamic State has said that it was behind the attack. Turkish authorities say that they have the fingerprints and a basic description of the suspect and vowed to speedily identify him. Now, remember, some 600 revelers were in the Riena nightclub early on Sunday when the gunman attacked. Now, he fired randomly at people in an assault that lasted 7 minutes. The nightclub is one of Istanbul's most fashionable venues and also popular with foreigners. Now, Islamic State group said that the attack was revenge for Turkish military involvement in Syria. Meanwhile, the mortal remains of 2 Indians who were among those killed will be brought back to India on Wednesday. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has tweeted that the bodies of Abiz Hassan Rizvi and Khushi Shah from Gujarat will be brought back by the Turkish Airlines flight from Istanbul tonight and reach Mumbai on Wednesday morning.
Türkiye'ye karşı hiçbir zarar gelmeyecek noktaya gelinene kadar sürdürmekte kararlıdır. Cerablus, Elbap, Membiç nereye kadar giderse bütün bu terör örgütlerinin Türkiye'ye karşı tehdit oluşturmaktan çıkarıldığı noktaya kadar.
News from Israel now, where the police have begun questioning Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as part of a graft probe that has shaken Israeli politics. Now, 3 investigators are at the Prime Minister's residence to question him. Police have, however, declined to comment. Now, police were expected to question Netanyahu over whether he illegally accepted gifts from wealthy supporters. Well, the long-running inquiry has looked into whether Israeli and foreign businessmen have offered gifts worth tens of thousands of dollars, as well as another unspecified issue. Well, according to reports in the Israeli media, police have carried out the inquiry in fact, secret over the course of some 8 months and have recently arrived at an important breakthrough. Well, some 50 witnesses are said to have been questioned as well. Netanyahu has, however, denied any wrongdoing and has warned his opponents against any celebrations.
אנחנו הרי שמים לב לכל הפרסומים בתקשורת, אנחנו רואים שומעים את הרוח החגיגית והרוח המנשבת באולפני הטלוויזיה, במסדרונות האופוזיציה. אני רוצה להגיד להם, חכו עם החגיגות, אל תמהרו. אמרתי לכם ואני חוזר ואומר לכם, לא יהיה כלום כי אין כלום. אתם תמשיכו להפריח בלונים עם אוויר חם, ואנחנו נמשיך להוביל את מדינת ישראל.
And more news from the Middle East is now Syrian rebel groups have suspended talks about planned peace negotiations later this month in the Kazakh capital, Astana. Well, the rebels have blamed violations of the 4-day ceasefire deal. Now, Turkey and Russia, remember, brokered this ceasefire deal that has mostly held since last Thursday, but there have been alleged violations in the rebel-held region of Wadi Barad near Damascus. Now, rebels say that the Syrian government and its allies are trying to recapture this area. The military has, however, denied the allegations. Remember, on New Year's Eve, the United Nations Security Council voted unanimously to welcome the Russia-Turkey efforts to end the fighting in Syria and organize the peace talks. Well, the new ceasefire deal applies across Syria but excludes the jihadists of the Islamic State as well as the Kurdish militia. More than 3 lakh people have been killed in the war in Syria, which has lasted for nearly 6 years now. And what else is making news across the world? Let's take a look in World Wrap. At least 60 inmates of a prison in the northern Brazilian state of Amazonas have been killed in a riot. Now, state authorities say that many of the victims were beheaded or dismembered, also adding some that inmates also escaped. Several prison guards were also held hostage. Well, the riot began yesterday in the afternoon and it lasted until this morning. Two of the biggest crime gangs of Brazil began fighting last year over control of several prisons, and authorities in Amazonas believe that that is the reason behind this riot. At least 36 people have been killed after a suicide bomber driving a pickup loaded with explosives struck a bustling market in Baghdad on Monday, and the Islamic State has claimed responsibility. Well, the attack took place hours after French President François Hollande arrived in the Iraqi capital. Newly appointed United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has made a strong appeal to the international community to strive for peace this year. Well, Guterres, who succeeded Ban Ki-moon as the world's top diplomat, voiced concern that civilians are pounded with deadly force. Women, children and men are killed and injured, forced from their homes and also destitute. He will be serving his 5-year period till December 2021. And the Supreme Court of Nepal has cleared the decks for the government to go ahead with the crucial constitution amendment bill. It has decided against issuing an interim order to stall the bid, citing separation of powers. Well, the bench gave the ruling in response to 2 writs, and the petitioners have stated that as per the constitution, revision of provisional boundaries can only happen with the consent of the concerned provincial assembly. That's all in this edition of news, but news and updates continue on Rajya Sabha Television. Have a great day.